Welcome to this lecture. Today we are going to talk about object-oriented programming, and we are on chapter number 4. We are going to talk about essence of classes and objects, or rather we are going to explore more about objects and classes. Now, just very quick, we begin from classes. Now, class in object-oriented programming is a template. A template is a blueprint or a roadmap. So a template of a class type, or a class is a template where you can have what we call different members. So a class has members. Two types of members. The first one is a data member. The second one is a function member. What do we mean by data member? Data member, simply, these are variables that we are going to work with, or some storage locations for values that are changing in our program. We are going to store them as data members. An example will be if I'm going to storing information about student age, or the age of a student, or the name of a student, or the marks of a student. So I'll have to create variables to store age, maybe as an integer, maybe store marks also as integer, store the name as a string. So that means I will have several variables which are going to store data. So they are called data members when they are in a class scenario. The other member are member functions, or rather the second member of a class are functions. Functions are methods, in other names. A method is simply a function that acts on an object. So in a class, we can have functions which helps us do something or perform an action. So we call them functions, and they are called member functions. So just take it in your mind. We only have these two members in a class: data members and member functions. Data members are variables. Function are actions that we are going to perform on data to model the behavior, or to bring about the element of behavior. There are some words that are used, such as state and behavior, but we shall refer to them more when we shall be talking about objects. But state simply is a way data gives us a state of something. So when you have variables, they basically represent a state. Or then behavior is an action thing, is normally represented by methods or functions. Now, most of the languages that are being used nowadays, be it Python, be it C++ that we are talking about here, are object-oriented languages which incorporate the use of classes. Now, classes can be inbuilt, or you can have your own user-defined classes. So a program can have user-defined build classes, which you can basically use as a template, or you can also come up with your own defined classes when you are modeling some data. Now, what is an object? An object is an instance of a class. The word instance may be used to refer to a baby, or to a child, or the outcome of having a class. So an object is a variable that can hold values. Okay? So it is a baby of a class. If I created a class called student, so that is a template where I'm going to store student information, maybe their ages, their marks, their names and what have you. But now for me, out of that student class, I can have several student objects. I can have a student who does this course of this age. I can have another student who does that and that of that age. So those become different instances of the class, or they become simply objects of a class. Now, what are the importance of having objects or classes in object-oriented programming? So if we want to modularize our program, if you have been given a complex idea that, or you've been given a problem that you need to solve, create a system, you may need to break down that complex system into simpler functional blocks. So those functional blocks, you're going to create modules. That's why we're talking about modularizing. So objects and classes are going to help you to come up with the element of modularization by having different functions being created and modeled differently. Again, another thing